couple of fascinating stories coming up in the next half hour. We're going to be taking a closer look at what's going on at Global Trader. This is a business that pioneered contracts for difference trading in South Africa, then moved across to the UK, was doing very well by all intents and purposes, and only recently hit a big problem. They called it Black Friday. That was the day that they had to pull the rug and go into administration. We will have the Chief Executive, Charles Savage, with us in just a little while to tell us what's going on. And incidentally, the clients are so upset, they've even started a website called globaltraderclients.com that is attacking the company and its apparent lack of communication. We'll try and fix all of that. Incidentally, there's another issue on that side is there is a listed company involved, Purple Capital, gone from R1.80 at the time of the transaction when it bought Global Trader last year to less than R1 at the moment. But the other big story of the moment involves Altech, and Chief Executive Craig Venter is with us in the studio. It's great. This is an African story, this, Craig, but it's the second time you've second bite at the African cherry. You did try and do a deal with Strive Masia and EcoNet just a little while ago. That didn't work out. This one, though, seems to be even bigger and even more exciting.
Yeah, I think, Alec, it's a good opportunity for us. As you say, it's Africa. I think the difference between this and the EcoNet deal that we did, 5 years ago approximately, is this is a data network operator as opposed to a voice operator, and EcoNet was a voice operator.
Have you refined your strategy then to go for data rather than voice?
Yeah, I think 5 years down the road, the market's moved, technology's moved, and as you know, voice, video, and data are all converging. So we see the data side as being the growth area going forward into Africa. In this case, we have a 51% controlling shareholding, whereas in the EcoNet deal we had a 50-50 equal shareholding, so we have control in this case.
So it's unlikely that this might unravel then?
I would think, different partner control structure, 51%, a family-controlled group, which is Samir, who are our partners in this particular deal.
So similar to you guys? Eh?
Yeah, very similar. Actually, the size of their group turnover-wise is the same as Altech. So it's a big group in Kenya. They're involved in various different disciplines as well, not only data.
How did you find each other?
We actually, just through our market intelligence and working in Africa, we came across the opportunity and then explored it further.
But in Samir, what exactly does it do in Kenya?
Samir owns 40% of Celltel, the GSM mobile operator. They also own tea and coffee plantations. As you know, that's a big industry there. They have the biggest construction company in East Africa called H. Young & Sons.
That's a really good partner to have in that part of the world.
A big partner, and very well connected politically, very active in the East African market. So they're staying in as our 49% partner. We'll have 51%. And Mr. Morali, who's their chairman, will remain as chairman of the board and will assist us in growing the business going forward.
Craig, if it is such a big company, Samir, what is the point of selling control to Altech? What does Altech bring?
I think Samir saw that we can bring a lot of technological expertise, and I think, as you well know, in this particular area, high-tech area, skills there's a shortage of skills around the world, and I think Altech can bring a lot of those skills to the partnership, and of course also capital expansion. I mean, capital and money is always important to grow a network such as that in East Africa. So I think they saw that as positives and why they looked at us as a partner.
It's a big deal for you. It's 12% of your market cap, so not insignificant, but also not the first time you're going into that area. You did dip your toe in the water in Rwanda.
Yes, and we're still in Rwanda. We're building a data network in Rwanda. We got official licenses from the government, and we're actually in the process now of commissioning our data network in Rwanda. And this is an existing network operator, a data operator. It also includes 2 internet service providers, which is Swift Global, which is an internet service provider in Kenya, and Infiltration, which is a service provider, internet service provider in Uganda. So it gives us quite a good spread across the board, and it's an existing company that's profitable and doing very well. I think if we had to build that network on our own, it would involve quite a big J-curve with a lot of investment. As you know, licenses are scarce and hard to find and take a long time to get. So I think we're making a good, quick access into East and Central Africa, and it makes us the number one data network operator in East and Central Africa.
Just by way of clarification, what's the difference between a data network and a voice network?
Well, really, I mean, voice would be GSM, much like MTN and Vodacom are in voice here in South Africa. I mean, data would be broadband internet service provision. And if you look at the growth rates going forward for Africa, the growth is going to come from the data side.
Very interesting, the Seacom initiative. Brian Herlihy was here in the studio about 2 weeks ago, and he explained that one of the partners in Seacom is an Aga Khan group company. Of course, Aga Khan coming from Kenya.
Yes.
Is this part of the initiative for you, knowing that there's going to be a massive amount of broadband going into Kenya only a year from now, in the same way as it's going to be coming into South Africa?
Most surely. I think Africa is pretty much starved of bandwidth, and undersea cables bring bandwidth to the continent. And as you know, there's been a lot of publicity about the undersea cable here that's going to go from South Africa. As you know, and as you've correctly said, there's an undersea cable plan now from Mombasa in Kenya all the way up the continent. That undersea cable, yes, I think the Kenya Data Networks company that we bought 51% in would probably play a role, and with Altech in terms of looking at investment in that undersea cable, because I think bandwidth is going to be critical going forward. Currently, bandwidth is a shortage, but Kenya Data Networks is using the bandwidth that's there currently.
How much is there?
Oh, quite a lot of bandwidth. I mean, I think that there's always going to be a shortage, especially when you look at the growth that's taking place here in South Africa. In Kenya, the growth and the demand for bandwidth has been there, but it's going to get the demand's going to get bigger and bigger, and then the undersea cable becomes much more important.
When you travel though in East Africa and you take a laptop with you, what are the speeds like, the download speeds relative to South Africa, and then there we hope relative to the Western world?
I would say 400 to 500 megabits per second is kind of average in terms of Africa, which is pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit better in some cases than what we're receiving here.
And the regulations also quite exciting in East Africa. What's the reason for that?
I think, Alec, the liberalization of the telecoms market here locally needs, I think, to happen quicker rather than later. The delays in applying for licenses to become an operator here take too long, and I think are fairly bureaucratic. And I think, overall, Africa in other countries, as an example, in Rwanda, from the time we applied for the data network operating license, which is a full national license, from the day we applied till the day that we actually received the license was 6 weeks, which would be unheard of here in South Africa. And I think
you wouldn't even get an appointment in 6 weeks.
Weeks. So I think those are the points. Yeah.
Here in South Africa, you are testing WiMax.
Yes.
In Kenya, you are already implementing WiMax.
That's
I guess
correct.
as an example, what exactly is WiMax and how your tests going?
Well, WiMax is a technology which basically comes with the term of 802.16b or E. We're testing 802.16e, which is a mobile WiMax technology. The tests are showing great results, very fast. And again, you need bandwidth in order to be able to offer that service. But we're doing the test right now in order to see what we can do in South Africa. As you say, through this acquisition, we actually acquire a network operator, data operator, that has a WiMax license that is already operating and is generating profits. So it's good for us.
Interesting changes you're making at your company, at Altech, with you becoming, I suppose, a little less involved operationally and moving Joel Stransky, the Springbok rugby hero, into a top position.
I think, the group, has grown significantly. Altech now, is way bigger than an 8 billion rand company. We've got 5,000 employees. The group's globalizing quite significantly. This deal is a case in point. So we really need to be sure that we're looking at the right things from a vision perspective, acquisitions, and maybe those are the areas that I need to concentrate more on. And the operational side, I've appointed Andy Baker, who was the MD of Netstar. He was there for 2 years. I appointed him as Chief Operating Officer of the Altech Group. And obviously I'll still be involved as Chief Executive Officer, but I'll be concentrating more on the strategy side and the acquisitions and the globalization of the group.
And then Joel's moved up into Andy Baker's position.
That's correct. Joel's had a good business background. I mean, everyone knows him as a great rugby player, but he worked within a company called Stella Vista. He was at MegaPro prior to joining us. So he has a good business background and has done very well running Netstar. In fact, they just were named as the best technology company in the country by Technology Top 100, which is a government initiative. So that was quite nice for Joel.
Craig Venter, moving into other parts of the continent quite aggressively. 5 years on, you remember that Econet deal didn't come off. This one, different kettle of fish and also a different focus. It does appear as though Africa is now getting its act together finally, as far as the internet age is concerned. That could unleash all kinds of interesting developments from here onwards. And if you're entrepreneurial in that space, well, you know about that already. In a little while, we're going to be talking about something that hasn't gone quite as well. That's the global trader situation in London. Stay with us.